something important is changing right now about autism and perception of autism in the world. I mean, it is changing the academic perception of autism and the world people's perception of autism. As you maybe know, autism became more and more recognized and diagnosed in people without co-occurrence and without disability and special needs of support. And maybe, as you know, that maybe more and more that what we see about society is full of autistic people. So what happens? Studying the identity and orientation question and studying autism, something appears so different in autism if we compare these to the neurotypical population. Surprise is that autistic population seems to be for the 70% not binary, talking about identity, gender, and not heterosexual, talking about orientation of gender. So we are in a particular position because we have to ask why that happens. It is a too big percentage to be something not important. And maybe we have many causes, but why all together in this kind of population? I'm talking to you from Italy, and I know attention to autism is very different in different countries. We work in cooperation with sometimes in India, Pakistan, United States, and UK, Sweden, and we know Spain, and we know approaches very different. Here in Italy, we have a very strong activism. Myself, I am an activist, I am a psychologist professional, I am an autistic person, autistic parent, and a parent of autistic son. And all people we are working for, the majority of them is in autism spectrum, feels that this results is correct. Very few of them identify themselves like a binary and heterosexual person. Okay, maybe we find the slide. Okay, so I have to tell you something very important before. Thank you, Francesco. And that's particular attention we have to give to the population with co-occurrence in autism. Because, as I will explain very soon, in autism, we need to have a communication very clear, explicit communication. That means that even in patterns about emotional education and affective and sexual education, we have a huge difference about needs. if neurotypical children and adults can organize some coping about implicit instruction, autistic people have a brain organized in a different way. So if we are working for, and if we are studying with people that is autistic and have a disability, we have to think about this. We choose as a society that our autistic disabled person have no choice, grow up cisgender and heterosexual, and all this is not sexualized, but it is just romantic. We keep disabled people like children all life long. And that is a very enormous abuse exposure. So I deeply suggest you to study this aspect in your country, because I know that no one have today common educational protocol about this. There is not scientific study and proposal about sexual education of autistic people with disability. Autistic people in all manifestations needs to understand who they are in the world as everyone, but and what they feel as everyone, but in a different way. Now, it is important to understand that maybe the first question about the cause of this so high percentage could be something inside the basic, even of hunting mechanism, or even of systemizing mechanism, something very, very deep in our brain. This is an hypothesis founded on a theory about what in our brain can be changed and what cannot. The second problem in this situation is the quality of life. We have a very important link between depression, I know in Italian, I'm sorry, síndrome da disturbo post-traumatico, post-stress syndrome disorder, and suicide thinking. And sometimes suicide works like a project, and sometimes suicide involves even children. So as a society, as a parents, as a professional, we have a responsibility on this. We need to understand why autistic people in the world, maybe 70 million people, not so little minority, lives in that condition without understanding who they are and what they feel. If you are autistic and if you have not a gifted situation in your brain, maybe you will try all your life to be what society tells you to be. And maybe it is different about what is from what is your need. What we should do as a professional I think the first step will be, this is mandatory, should be mandatory. In Italy, we use all the ancient Latin sentence. It is conditio sine qua non. It means it is something without without it is impossible to go on. And is, please consider autism every day. Autism should be not just studying when we think about autism or talk about autism, because autism is every day, in every moment, in all society. So when we offer educational programs or maybe even fairy tales for children, we have to think about that we have no models that are not binary or not gender orientated or not heterosexual. And if a neurotypical child can grow up and compare what the world tells at home, at school, and then what friends and society in the little net do, neurotypical child can grow up and choose, okay, this is the rule, officer, but I can maybe do something different if I am good enough to take this private, personal. Autistic people have not that skill. We have a different skill. If we have a rule, we feel forced to follow the rule. Go out of the rule make us a very big discomfort. So if someone tells us, okay, you are cisgender and you are heterosexual, okay, our brain can be very, very in discomfort because we cannot understand why we feel emotions and attraction with someone who is not the opposite sex, or discomfort because our body doesn't tell us something that we attend. And it is very interesting because it is even about transition in autism, transition, not every time and not ever could be till the end, but person should be in the condition to understand what they need, if they need to go to the end of the process or feel better in the halfway. So it is a very delicate thing, and it is so important. As a professional, we should do some question, for example. First question, if we work with transgender or LGBT plus people, that's why we have to talk and we have to think about autism. We have to ask to ourselves, okay, maybe this person is autistic, and why? Because if it is autistic, the brain of this person works just in a different way. And we have to know this way. We have to know how to adapt the communication. And then we have to ask, what about the hunting system of this person? The hunting is something about 3 important elements. Attention starting, motivation keeping, and satisfaction, gratification just at the target. So what this person is telling about me? We have not everyday answers. I'm not here to give you answers. We have too little time about this, but I'm here to give you some question. I hope you will go home with some question, and I hope this question will help you and your patients and your family to better understand everyone and to organize what they need as autistic person, even in this topic: identity, gender, orientation, affectivity, emotional word, and communication. If I have a few minutes again, I would like to talk a little about an important difference and something that could be very interesting for us as professionals and psychologists. And it is what happens in the brain of male and female, I mean biological male and female in autistic people and non-binary autistic people, because we know we have some little difference in brain, but we are starting now to study this. So we have to do very, very respectful about this. But something we know, difference between male and women in autism are determined by something of genetic and biological, but also social and historical in evolution. And a side of this is sexuality. So maybe it should be very interesting how much sexuality have a role, play a role in social coping and masking in autism. And it is so important for trans autistic people or autistic people in transition or that ask for a transition program. But even they could be interesting for children and very young people, or maybe mature, that needs to be supported about the way to understand who they are and what kind of orientation they have. And we have to understand that there are not just black, white, male, female, cold, hot. Reality is more complex. Even overall sexuality and affectivity. So we have not just male and female and heterosexual or pansexual. We have so many kind of way to be human. Autistic children and autistic young people have no access to this information all over the world. It's very rare. And that means maybe 30, 40 years of discomfort, suffering. So we have even statistics that are not perfect, because we have many levels that it interfere one with other. So we should consider, for example, minority stress in autism, and also in trans people, and also in bisexual people. That should be the worst in this moment because of B erasure. I don't know if you know, maybe you know this. And so many situations, all full of stress. Here in Italy, I'm proud to say you, we have a book just published, and it is even in English too. It is Divergent Binaries, and you can find it in English as an ebook. Please, would be so kind to read it. In this book, in Italy, it is the first one about autism and gender culture. In this book, we have the first study here in Italy again about minority stress, autism, and sexuality. And you can find the link in the book. Divergent Binaries, ebook, Distanzi. Maybe I can send the link to the organization if they are kind enough to send it to you.